Hi, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Salesforce Epic Hour. Today's topic is basic of Einstein analytics, and I just want to welcome all the other developer group as well who are joining us today. So all other developer groups are Farmington Hill, Ohio, Sri Lanka, Chandigarh, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Washington DC. So thank you so much all the participants who are joining us and. Let me tell you who I am. So my name is Amit Chaudhary. I am a Salesforce MVP and running this Salesforce Apex Hours series. I'm active on developer community, and apart from that, I'm also active blogger. So I don't want to take much time here. I just want to hand over to Jitendra Jha.
Thank you, Amit. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the next and the new Salesforce Apex Hours. And I would say, what a great way to start your weekend as per your time zone. What I'm in EST time zone, so this is really good to learn something and to share something. And I hope this session is going to be one of the good knowledgeable session. And if you have any question, I would suggest to keep entering your question in the question panel, and either we have a lot of experts on the call. So we have Shamil from Sri Lanka, we have Ahmed, and we have others as well who might be able to answer it, or maybe I would be able to take those questions at the end of the session. So let me start. So Amit already gave the introduction of himself, and thank you so much Amit for organizing this event and the session. It's really helpful for everyone. A lot of time, even I was the audience in this session, and I have learned a lot from the Apex Saturday hours. About me, I'm Jitendra Jha, Senior Technical Architect, right now working at Blue Wolf. And some more information about me, like I have some like 20 certifications, author of Apex Design Pattern book. If you have not seen that book, I would suggest. That book is not actually for the experienced developer, but if someone new who wants to learn what are the design patterns and how to think through it, that's the book for them. I will say for the beginner and the intermediate Salesforce developers. I have been to the Salesforce ecosystem around 10 plus years now, but before Salesforce, my life was in J2EE and the .NET programming. You can find my blog and follow me on my Twitter. So let's see what we are going to cover today. So first and foremost, I would like to say that whenever I'm using a word analytics wave, actually that is because of my habit. But Salesforce has renamed the analytics wave to the Einstein analytics. So that's the actual name, official name, I will say. We will go with some of the terminology, and this session is going to be full of demos and everything. I will try my best to keep theory as short as possible and directly jump on a lot of demos. We will go through how we can create a data set, lenses, how can we create a dashboard. There are some tips and tricks in the dashboard, like what are steps and how we are going to use a cross-dataset filter, what exactly are those. So we are going to cover that on the basis of scenario. We will also discuss that what are some performance improvements you can do to improve the data flow, and we will see exactly. Don't worry about the terminology. I'm going to cover most of them, considering you are let's say first time attending this session. And let's say if you are already experienced one, then I will say later part there is going to be fun. We are also going to cover how we can do the transformations inside analytics wave. So let's go ahead. Okay. So okay. Perfect. So let's see what exactly is the Einstein analytics. So I will say, so I have created this small diagram, and I will say Einstein analytics is actually ETL, deep approach. So you might have already heard about ETL, but this is like one step ahead, ETLT. So again, the full form is extraction, where we would be extracting a data from a lot of data sources like Excel sheet, Informatica, Salesforce, and some other sources. And then we might be doing transformation outside the analytics wave. So that stands for small t. Then we would be loading the data into the Salesforce, and the best part is Salesforce Analytics Einstein have a transformation tool where you can transform your data inside Salesforce itself. So this is just a small diagram which it shows that, okay, we can load the data from Salesforce, and of course we can load data from multiple sources. For an example, CSV or such CSV file actually. Then we have multiple sources, and with the help of multiple sources, we can either create a data set we can create a data set directly, or we can use some data for transformations, and we can see also the recipe, and we will see exactly how those things works. So first and foremost, some of the few terminologies which I'm going to use, and I want to make sure that everybody understands those terminology. So app is like a folder. So inside an app in Analytics Einstein, you can have a lenses, you can have a dashboard, data set. Now data set is formatted and optimized data. Okay. One important difference between the Salesforce and Analytics Wave is Salesforce suggests normalized data, means you don't want a duplicated data. But in Einstein Analytics, what they do is they save denormalized data. That means there could be the multiple columns which are duplicate. But for the performance, so that's the, I will say, fundamental difference between how Salesforce saves the data and how Einstein Analytics saves the data. Moving to the lenses. So lenses are like on the basis. So you can consider data set kind of the, again, this is all my word, not from the documentation. So you can say data set is like an object. Now on the top of object, you can create a report. So in the same way, on the top of data set, you can create a lenses. So lenses is like your exploration. You have a data, what you want to see. Do you want to see industry? Do you want to see the name? And all those stuff. Now the lenses again have like a few important parts. So like measure. So measure normally is like what you can measure, what you can calculate. So you can do calculation on the numeric fields, right? And then there are dimensions. So dimensions are like string values where you can have a group by, and then you can add a filter, date types are also there. Then I would be using the grain. So in terms of Einstein Analytics, grains is equals to the one row in your data. Then is SAQL. So SAQL stands for Salesforce Analytics Query Language, and this is actually based on PageSQL. Now the question is, what is PageSQL? So the PageSQL is Apache open source Page Latin, and that's the language used as a part of Hadoop as well. If you know a little bit about Hadoop, it's like used most of the data science project and everything. And now Apache Page Latin also have a query language. So PageSQL and SQL is kind of the same. Now they are, so in once we go on the Dataflow, we are going to use a lot of things. We are going to use SABC digest, we are going to use register, argument. I will cover those points at that during the demo, but SABC digest is like deriving data from Salesforce. Augment means you are joining between the data. Faceting is like you're applying a filter in the dashboard content. So let's move on next. So there are first few questions. So questions are like, and this would be useful after this demo. So the question is, how many ways you can create a data set? There are many ways. 4 at least known to me. You can create a data flow using data set. You can create a data set from data flow. There is a simple button. You can use a JSON. You can use a recipe. Now there's some fun fact. And again, these slides would be useful for you after the demo. Can you restore the data flow? Answer is no. And that is the reason the best practice is you always keep a backup of your JSON of data flow. Question is, can you restore data set? Answer is yes. And I will show you basically how that can be done. So if you go on any data set, this is the button you see, the restore data set, and that's how you can restore it. Okay. Then how many ways we can see the JSON on dashboard? So first, it's a Control E. In the URL, you can replace edit by the word JSON. So for an example, if this is the URL, you have to replace this edit by JSON, and you will be able to see the JSON. I'm promising you just 3 more slides of the theory, and then we will directly jump on demo for the rest of the session. So best practices. The only best practice I'm going to talk about is the data replication, and I will show how we can enable the data replication in Einstein Wave. But advantages. So once you enable the data replication, and data replication is only applicable for the data inside Salesforce. So once you enable it, so basically there is a concept of data flow. Like, so the database of the Salesforce is completely different, and the database and the data storage of Einstein Analytics is completely different. So if you are using a Salesforce as a data source, now you can imagine, it's a very common sense that analytics has to fetch the data from Salesforce, convert it into the denormalized format and a proprietary format, which is very fast and used for the analytics wave or Einstein Analytics. Now what data replication does is, it will fetch data in advance and it will fetch data replicated. So what it will do is, it will make it a faster. So I will skip this slide and let's go. And okay, before that, you have to make sure that there are some considerations and the limitations of enabling data replication. And you can click on these links to go on the documentation and learn more. So just to give you an example, okay, I think the image speaks, image is actually equivalent of 1,000 words. So here what I'm trying to say. The data is coming from Salesforce, as you can see, data is coming from CSV, then data is coming from Informatica, and then data is coming back from the Salesforce. Now, let's say Salesforce account is coming, account is coming. So in the typical case, if we don't have data replicator, what will happen is your data flow will always fetch account again and again. And you can imagine it would be slower. Now, account object already exists into the Salesforce. Don't you think that this diagram would make more sense? So instead of fetching account every time, if there is some shared space and account is fetched into that shared space, and then data flow, instead of fetching account every time from the Salesforce object, they can fetch directly from the replication. So if you know about Lightning data services, it's kind of the same approach. Okay, sorry to bring that topic, but this is basically the shared storage we have. And every time any data gets updated, shared replicator will update it, and then it would be used in the data flow. So this is really one of the best practice you should always do. And now it's time to jump on the demo, and very basic. So first of all, the question is, how do you get the Einstein Analytics developer org? Now to get a developer org, the approach is different. So you have to go on the resources tab, and the first link here I have mentioned is how to get your developer org. So if you click here, this is how you have to enter first name, last name, and you would be getting you will get an email within a second saying that, okay, this is your developer org is ready, go ahead and use it. So this is my developer org. I just created the last night. And once you go on app menu, you will see the Analytics Studio. So this is the place where we have to go, Analytics Studio. Please ping me or unmute your mic if you think I'm going fast. My screen is not visible, just to make sure everybody is understanding. Okay, so this is how the Analytics Wave, Analytics Studio or Einstein Analytics looks like. We have apps. Apps are like folders. So we have 3 folders right now here. Okay. So now it's a demo time, so I would be slower. And thank you, Anish. Don't worry, I'm looking on this chat as well. So you have anything to say me, you can use the chat window. So this is an Einstein Analytics interface, and we have the apps. Apps are like folder. You can create a multiple folder, multiple apps. So I will go and I will create one app, and then you will see there are templates. This is the best part of analytics, that you will have a lot of template, and you can use from existing template. You can create your blank application. I'm saying, okay, let's create a blank application, and I'm going to say is Apex, let's say Saturday. And again, every demo which I'm going to show you is all on the basis of my learning. So if something wrong happens, something is mistake, some error comes, I apologize in advance, and I will try to fix that. Let's see how it goes. Hey Jennifer, Shamil. Okay, I see a lot of groups has joined. Welcome everyone. So I see Farmington, I see Springfield, I see Johannesburg, Sri Lanka, Chandigarh, Hyderabad, Bangalore, DC. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session. So here we have app. It's a really very lonely. Now what you can have in a folder, you can have lenses, you can have a data set. So just to see how many data sets we already have, if I go on the data set right now, I only have one data set. So data set is like what I say, object or table on top of which you can create a report. So what I will do is I will show you how to create a data set in Salesforce. So like I said, there are around 4 ways to create a data set, and one of the simplest way to create a data set is click on create. You'll get an option. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to create a data set. And now you see there are 3 options available here: CSV, Salesforce, Informatica. Let's assume that we are going to create a data set for account and the owner of account. So I will go here, I will say, okay, my data set name is account. Now, when you will create a data set, so there is a concept of data flow. So data flow is a place where you will be performing all the transformations. Right now, Salesforce already gives the default Salesforce data flow, so we will use that. And I'm saying data set name is account and let's say owner. Again, if I am fast, guys, please stop me, ping me, IM me, message me on Zoom. I'm watching over all the messages. So I'm clicking on next. Now see what happens. Now it is asking me, okay, you want to create a data set, and it is asking, okay, which object do we want to include? So I'm saying here, okay, oh, it's slow. Let me see if any error came. Okay, it seems it's stuck. So what I will do is I will create again. So I will create a data set again. Let me reload my screen. It may be some JavaScript console error, might be. So I will go and I will create a data set, Salesforce. I will say account with owner. I'm going to use a Salesforce data flow. Perfect. Now here you have to select the first object. Now first object I'm going to select account. And you say it's a standard object. And when I click on the plus sign, it will tell me which field I want to get. So I will say, okay, give me account name, give me, let's say, phone number, rating, account source, I will say account type, I will say give me an industry. That should be fine. I will say, okay, give me SIC code as well. Then, so this is the one object I need as a data set, but every account have a relationship. Like account can be related to this user because of created by field, last modified field, owner ID, or maybe it is related to the parent account. So what I say is, okay, give me an account and information about all the owners. Now owner is actually the user object. Okay, so right now really I don't know what is the limit of the field. I don't have something in my mind, but you can always go on the documentation and see what is the field limit. I'm pretty sure it's a huge field limit, so we don't have to worry about the field limits. So I will go on user, and from the user, I don't want to select a lot of things. I will just say, okay, give me the first name, full name, last name, username, company name. Let me see if there is some email. Email. Perfect. So now this is the thing. On account, I have selected 8 fields. On user, I have selected 6 fields. And I will go on next. Now it is saying that, okay, we have created a new app. So I'm saying, okay, this data set should be stored in Apex Saturday. And I'm saying, okay, let's first edit data flow. Okay, shared app. Okay, so let's say shared app. So it is giving me an error that, okay, you want to edit it. So you have to select the shared app. So let's go ahead with it. Our data set would be stored in the shared app. So basically what happened is, see, this is a data flow. And we are going to cover the data flow completely during the end of this session, and that is going to be fantastic. That what exactly is the data flow? But to keep everything short, data flow is the transformation. This is the place where you can do the transformation. And I will come up with the use case where I will explain all of this stuff. Right now, this upper everything, so this opportunity product, so this is already available when I created a developer org from Trailhead. This is already comes up, and this is what right now we created. So we use a user object, we use an account, everything we did on the user interface, but behind the scene, this is exactly what happened. And if you go on my terminology slide, you will see that argument is joined between the digest. And here, if you see, this is the argument, and it's actually doing the joining. So what I will do is now, let's monitor it. So let's go on the data manager, click on the monitor, and refresh it. And as you can see, this is running, and you can assume it is very slow. So 11 second, everything is becoming slow here. I'm not sure how much time I have to wait. But again, as we discussed in our slide, the best way to make it fast is to enable the replication. We will do that. So a question from Jigar. Can we navigate to child records in the object relational hierarchy, or only parent record are accessible during dataset creation? Good question, Jigar. So basically, during the creation of dataset, we have to go downwards. I mean, again, I'm telling you, sky is limit. What we just saw is the user interface of way of creating a dataset. I am going to cover an innovative way to create a dataset. Okay. But the question is, whatever you think is possible. Okay, now it's up to you. Do you want to see the designer, or do you want to use the data manager? So if you are using the data designer, which I just went through, first you have to select parent and then navigate, come to the child. That is the normal procedure. You don't have to do the coding or any extra stuff. But if you want to go from child to parent and so on, sorry, I did mistake. You have to first select the child. So account is the child, owner is the parent, and so on. But if you want to come other way around, we will use a data flow, and we will cover that. So I will cover the dataset creation again, completely different way. Okay. So let's keep everything simple right now for the time being. We just created our dataset. Everything is success. So the question for you might be, okay, what exactly did we do? So what we did, we created a dataset to get the data which is already in Salesforce. So Salesforce already had an account. Salesforce already had the user. We created a data set. What Salesforce did is, there is a concept of data flow, and you can visit on data flow. You can go here and you can edit it, and this is exactly the same screen which we saw. So whatever we do on the user interface, at the back end, Salesforce automatically creates it. Okay. So Salesforce created it, and it created. So let's see if data set is created here. I will go back here. Let's close here. Let's go on the data set account. So here, account with owner, this is exactly just created by me right now. And so okay, so this is the data set, and this is just we created. Once we click on any data set, by default lenses comes up, and on the lens, so this is the actually what exactly is the lens data set. Click it, and now we can do our calculation. So right now it is saying, what do you want to see here on the horizontal? I'm saying I want to see the count of rows. If we check here, there is nothing, there is no numeric value basically, and that is the reason nothing is appearing, only rows is appearing. However, on the row, you can say vertical axis is basically grouped by, and you can say, okay, let's group it by industry. So now you see the industry started, and then you can say on the count of row, sort, let's say descending. So everything is like, and you can, if you click on this icon at the top right, so this is SAQL. So behind the scene, when you were creating a lens, Salesforce was automatically creating a query for you. And query is actually the SQL query. So it is saying, okay, First line is which data set we used. So we used account with industry, account with owner. That is saying we group it by the industry. And then what value we need, that's here. And we said we did a sorting, and right now it is only getting a 2000 rows at a time. So the question is it possible to create a data set for custom object? Answer is yes, Lakshman. I see the question is from can we deploy the data set from full copy to the production? So Prakash, that is really a good question. I was not able to do it. I need to check the documentation on that. And the reason is data set is completely depending on your data. So let's say your sandbox already have a two object, and let's say production has only one object. Okay, I was getting some. I don't think you'll be able to do it, or maybe. Frankly, I didn't try that. But normally, what I do is I create a data set on the sandbox, test it, and everything is good. Because the best part is you can download the JSON. Anything you do, you download the JSON. I download the JSON and I upload that JSON back. That's how I do it. So, so this is the lens basically we just saw. So lens is like exploration. You go and you do the research and everything what you want, and you can save it. So for an example, again, go back here, going on industry, and let's save it. So I'm saying, okay, count by account. I will say count by industry. You can save it in Apex Saturday. Perfect. And what I will do is I will start at descending. I will save it again, same. So once I close this, now you can see lenses. So I just created this lens right now. It is already saved. I go back here, I click here, and that's how you can see. So I will not spend much time in the lenses. One more part about the lens is you can change its chart type. So once you click on this first icon, you will see a lot of different types of chart. Like you can have a donut, and again you can play around it. Like it has a heat map, matrix radar, right? Okay, so to use the matrix radar, you need 3 more measures. So we have only 1 measure, so we need a 4 measures. So that's good. And mostly I use the bar chart, column chart, stack column, sometimes donuts, line. Okay. So this is how, I mean, it's all easy. You can just go back here, and the best part I like about the analysis is very fast, responsive, and everything you can see in the real time. So let's go back. Instead of spending much time here, let's jump on the dashboard. What exact? So once you create this developer org, there are already 4 dashboards created. Let's create a new dashboard. I'm going here. I'm creating a new dashboard here. Again, when you are going to create a dashboard, it gives you a lot of template. So I'm going to say, okay, give me a blank dashboard. There are a few questions coming up. Please let it keep posting your question, but I would cover those questions maybe in between or maybe at the end of the session. Thanks everyone. So now this is the dashboard. First I will do is you can rename the dashboard. So I'm saying again Apex, let's say Saturday hour. And then on the left side you can see all the components. And the best part about the dashboard is by default there are 12 columns, and you can increase those columns. So right now I say it has 12 columns. I can say I need 14 columns, 16 columns, and so on. So let's keep it 12 column only for the time being. You can change the background color and everything. You can decide the devices and the minimum, maximum, and everything. There are a lot of configurations here. What I will do is first I will add the text. I'm saying demo dashboard. So you see on the right side of the panel, I'm changing the content of the text. And again, you can set the text style, widget style, everything very simple, all drag and drop. All you have to do is spend some time on this user interface. Now what I will do is, so on the right side, you see this create a step. So instead of creating a step here, let's see what we want to do. Let's say we want to create a chart here. So I will go back here. I will drag my chart here. Once you click on chart, it will ask you to create to choose basically a data set. So here you are saying, okay, let me use the DTC opportunity. And now the same interface would open just like the lens. Perfect. So let me change it to donut. And I will say segment this by, let's say, industry. Perfect. So this is opportunity industry, I will say. And let me increase it. Let me change its size. And let me add a label here. I'm saying opportunity by industry. So now on the right side, if you see what exactly happened is, let me fix it. On the right side, you see step automatically got created. Now the best part is how the steps appear on the data on the dashboard is, it will, so all the type of data set which you are going to use in the dashboard is going to have a main heading. And on the basis of that data set, all the charts which you will create will appear as a step. So right now, industry 1 was automatically created and its data set is DTC opportunity. So let me create one more chart. Okay. So what I will do is I will drag and drop here. Either I can do this, or what I will do is I will create a step now. I will say select the DTC opportunity again. And I'm saying, okay, keep the count of rows as it is. And in the vertical, what we can have is group it by account owner. So we have a lot of account owner, and I'm saying, okay, let's sort it descending, and done. Now what I will do is I will drag and drop it here. Let's say here. And let me fix it like this. And I will say same text here. I will say opportunity by owner. Let's save it. So what I will do is adjust it. Let's save it again. And let's run it. So you can run it using this. So again, like let's come back here. And this was the question I just covered. How many, wait here. How many ways to see the JSON on the dashboard? So everything which we are doing on the dashboard here, by a background, Salesforce is creating a JSON of it. You can download the JSON and you can just copy paste that JSON in some other Salesforce instances. So you don't have to do everything this again and again. So how do you see the JSON? So one approach is press Control E. So that's the JSON. Whatever you did, everything is appeared here. Okay. We are not going to cover this today, but you can do a lot of magical stuff in the JSON, which sometimes you're not able to do by the user interface itself. So that is the one way. Change the edit by JSON again. So this is exactly. So that's what the two way we talked about. That's the two way how you can see the JSON in the dashboard. So let's come back here. We are not going to discuss the JSON today, but let's discuss something more exciting. So first, let's view it. So what is happening is, so let's say if I click on 48 banking, you see automatically this changed. And this is the by default Salesforce is doing it, and this concept is known as the faceting in analytics aspects. In Einstein analytics. And how exactly is happening? How does this both component know that if I am changing, you have to change? I will say it is on the basis of step. So you can see these two steps are there. So this is the account owner step, and this is another step, and both steps are actually sharing the same data set. So if your components are sharing the same data set, it is out of the box. You don't have to do any configuration. You select this here, you select this here, and everything will be working fine. Now, this is the one way to filter it down. Now, another way is we have some filtration option. We have a range, we have a toggle. So what I will do is, let's create a toggle. So in the toggle again, we are right now using a DTC opportunity, but we can change the data set. And it is asking you, okay, you want to create a toggle in which field? So we are saying, okay, let's toggle on industry. Create it, and let me expand it. Okay. And let's save that again and view it. So now, as you can see, if I click on agriculture, now see the both components are changing. And again, the question is, how does analytics know that on selecting this filter, only these two components has to change? So let me give you one more. Let me make it a little bit interesting. So what I will do now, I will again create a chart here. And this time I'm going to use not the DTC. I'm going, okay, let me change it. I will create a step on the basis of this is account with owner we just created. And then I'm saying, okay, I need to see the count of all account, but on the basis of, let's say, industry. So I did that. I'm sorting it, descending. Again, let's go with the donut chart. I really love the donut. So that's better. So I have this. So now and I'm dragging it down here. Let me change. And I'm here saying the label account by industry. Again, if I'm going fast, please let me know. And if you want me to go back on some step which you missed, please unmute your mic and you can let me know. So now we have a 3 component here, and now you can see that. Okay, let me make it one more component. Then it would be like a little bit more easier. And again, I'm going to say the account of row and vertical axis. I want account owner of name again, and I will say sort. Perfect. And again, I'm changing the here. Owner. So first, let's try to understand on the right side what exactly happening on this step. Now this dashboard is made up of 2 data sets. One is account with owner and one is DTC opportunity. So if I run, and let's say if I change this, so if you see I'm changing using this toggle, only these 2 top components are changing. These 2 components are not changing, and the reason is these 2 components are made up of different data set, not the same data set, and Salesforce doesn't know exactly how to handle that. That is the one problem. Now the second problem is I want to select the multiple options in the filter. Right now I can only select one. How do I do that? So what I will do is so any component which you are using on the dashboard, my suggestion would always be go on its property, and there are a lot of options available. Okay, it's all learning by doing kind of stuff. So let me see here. So if I go on the property of this, it is saying you can only select a single, but there are 3 more: single selection required, multi selection required. I'm saying, okay, we should be able to see the multiple options on this filter. So what I will do is I will save it again. Let's go back and let's see. I'm selecting agriculture, banking. So now 3, 4, now you can see all these are got selected and numbers are changing. So this is the multi-selection in toggle component. That's how you do it. So the one problem is solved, that now we can do the multiple selection, but the main problem is still there. Why these two are not changing? So if you ask me this about like few months back, my answer would be, okay, if you want to change this automatically, you have to use the JSON. I would ask you to go on JSON. Perfect. If you ask me how do I do that, we have to go at the JSON level and we have to do some magic here. Today is not a day. What we will do is, there is a simple here is what we have to do. We have to inform analytics that how these two components are related. Now, if you see these two, obvious thing is industry is related because opportunity also have industry, account also have an industry. What we can do is, you see the 3 dot at the top right corner, use that, say connect data sources. We have to create a new connection. I will say industry. I will say, okay, in the DTS opportunity, industry field is matched to account with owner data sets industry field. And that's all. Let's see the magic now. I will run it. And now you see, everything is connected now. And that's how we do it. So if I change here, all the 4 components are changing now. And that's how, so very simple. What we did is, on the right side, you can have a feeling that how the faceting is going to work. If you are using a multiple data, normally a data set, I mean, most of the time would be on the basis of one data set. Sorry, one dashboard can be made up of one data set. In our case, we created a dashboard which has a 2 data set, might be 3, 4. It's up to you what is your requirement. But in any case, if you want to this faceting to work, all you have to do is connect the data sources, and you let analytics wave know that how these 2 data sets are related to each other. It can be related on the basis of owner, account owner, and the opportunity owner, maybe on the basis of industry, and maybe some other field. So it's all depends on you. So that's all about, I will say, basics. Okay, creating lenses, creating dashboard, what is faceting, how do you connect that. Now let's jump on a little bit more interesting stuff. But before that, let's enable the replicator. The reason before going on replicator, let's check something this. So on the data manager, if I go, right now we have a default Salesforce data flow. Okay, now I want to create a new data flow. The problem is I'm not getting an option to create a data flow. Once we enable the replicator, lot of options will get enabled. Let's see how we can do that. So I will search for analytics settings. And you see the first option shows enable replication. And I'm saying save it. Okay, one interesting question out of the blue just came into my mind. Unlike Salesforce reports in the dashboard, Salesforce reports and the dashboards are real time. Whatever the data you have, that would appear in the Salesforce report and dashboard, not in analytics. In analytics, like I said, analytics has their proprietary storage. They store in denormalized way. So you have to make sure that the data sets are getting refreshed. And there are multiple ways to do that. Either you can do manually and you can schedule it. And if you go here, if you right click here, you see the schedule option there. So you can schedule like run once in a day so that your dashboards and the lenses will appear updated. Okay, so replicator is enabled. Let's refresh this page and see what happens. You see the setup appeared automatically. You see in the data flow in the recipe, the new create data flow button appeared now. Before it was not there. And also one of the advantage of the replicator is a lot of other connectors gets enabled once you enable the replicator. Now so let me explain you one problem. Okay. Then we will come to see how that can be fixed. So I have a custom object named as a classes. And right now I see none of the records does not exist. So what I will do, I will create some classes. So I will create a Java class. I will create .NET. I will create, let's say, Salesforce. Now every classes can have a student, one or more. So now in the Salesforce class, what I will do is I will create some student. So I'm saying John Doe. I will create one more student. Let's say home. I will create one more student. Let's say Rudra. Let's say it. Now we have 3 classes. Okay, Salesforce, Java, .NET, and we have 3 students. Now all the 3 students are related to only Salesforce class. Now let's try to create a data set for this. Okay. So what I will do is, so if someone asks, can we create a data set for the custom object? Certainly we can. So I'm going to create one data set now. So let's create a data set. And I will create a data set from Salesforce again. And I will say dataset name as class with students. I will say old because this is going to be old. And I'm saying let's use the Salesforce default data flow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the class. Okay, first actually I'm going to use a student because that's the child. Someone asked this question actually, that how do we navigate? So we can navigate from child to parent. In the relationship, you can see that student can be related to the class. And in the student, I will only get the student name field and I will get a record ID. That's only 2 field I need. And from the class, again, I will need the class name and I need the record ID. That's all, very simple. But I need to show you some problem and then only we will understand what exactly needs to be done. So again, I'm saying, let's keep in the shared app, doesn't matter. And let's try to see what edit flow. So if you see here, again, this is a Salesforce data flow. These were already created by default when we created an app. This we just created on the user interface previously, and this is the new. So let's update it. And I'm going to say run the data flow. So basically what will happen now is it will connect to the Salesforce. It will get all the data and it will convert it to the analytics format. And you can keep refreshing the button here. So it will just take a few minutes. This problem is going to be the interesting one. And we are going to learn a lot from this example. Till now, everything was completely basic. If it was a little bit fast, I have added a reference here. There are a lot of tutorials available. And one of the best tutorial I will say is this YouTube channel. I really love Let's Play Salesforce. It's completely focused on Einstein analytics. You will learn a lot. I learn a lot from this channel. And I also have a YouTube channel and I have added like 4 or 5 videos few years back. I have created a trail mix. You can go on the basics of Wave. If you are interested in what is Apache page, you can read about this. SAQL reference. The data flow documentation will come in handy. Right now we are going to cover this. So let's see the status. Perfect. Everything is good. So let's create a lens. Okay. Let me come here. I will refresh this page. And we already have a data set. So we have class with students old. I'm very optimistic that this data set is going to be old data set. And right now, let's have a value table. I don't want to see any chart or anything. Okay, so, and here you can decide what are the columns. So see everyone, the problem here, I'm going to. So let me summarize everything again. What we did, we created 3 classes. So if I go on classes, there are 3 classes, .NET, Java, and Salesforce. And Salesforce has 3 students. The problem is, if you use a standard data set in Salesforce, child with parent, only those parent will appear who has child. So the problem here is only Salesforce is appearing here. What about the Java and what about the .NET? They are not appearing. So if you think it is as equivalent to the custom report type in Salesforce, it's only child with parent, student with class. But what I want is class with or without student. That is not happening right now. I'm not able to get the .NET, I'm not able to get the Java, I am only able to get the Salesforce only because that Salesforce has a 3 student. So that is my problem, and let's see how we are going to solve it. Again, this is going to be a little bit confusing. If you want me to go back on any step, just let me know. Okay, so here is what we are going to do. So everybody understood the problem, right? Is anyone there? If you want to repeat me, I can repeat. Okay, so perfect. This is the problem we have. Let's fix the problem. So what we are going to do now is, I'm going on Dataflow in the recipe. I'm going to create a new Dataflow, and I'm going to name it as Saturday class with or without student. Let's create it. So what we are going to do, so these are, okay, so this is the transformation tool inside analytics. You can do a lot on Dataflow, and output of the data flow is data set. So I see a lot of question coming up. Can we create a parent with child, child with parent? We can do a lot here. And there are some options available. You can see either you can create a new data set here, or you can use a Salesforce digest. I will go a few of component here and we will understand. So first of all, I need to fetch a data from Salesforce. And in order to do that, we have to use SFDC digest. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to fetch some class, and source object, I'm saying, okay, let's fetch a class, and I'm saying, okay, what field we need? So we need an ID field, let's say, and we need a class name. That's it. That's only 2 field I need. Okay. And then I'm saying, let's fetch a student. Give me a minute. So we have a class, and let's have a student. And I'm saying, let's fetch a student here. So this is the, again, transformation tool. We are going to transform our data like we want to use it. And we are going to cover a lot of component here. Student. And I will show it step by step. And again, this is a select field. In the select field, I'm saying, let's have an ID. Let's have a name, student name, and let's have the parent class. That is going to be the class ID. Perfect. Now what we are going to do is, let's create a reference. So basically class is a completely different, student is completely different. So what it will do is, it will fetch data from class. Now one more thing we can do is, we can add filters as well. So let's say if you don't want all the classes, all the students, you can have write down the filter. Now what we are going to do is, we will create a reference. We only going to use the ID, and we are going to say that, okay, this ID is coming from where. So I will do like, so this is going to the compute expression. So this symbol, I'm going to drag and drop here. I'm going to say this is a class reference, and the source I'm saying fetch it from. So we have two sources right now, class and student. Source only SWC digest or a digest will appear here as a source. So I'm saying from class, make sure we are not selecting the merge with source object. Let's add a field. I'm saying give me the you can say ID, or let's have as an index, and you can say that this is going to save the ID field of class. And then again we are going to add a field, and we are going to say source. We are going to say this source is going to be, this is a class object, so this is just a simple string. And let's create it. So now you see automatically the arrow is coming here. So we did the class reference. Let's create one more, and I'm saying student, and same way we need to fetch. So basically what I'm trying to do is, we have data from class, we have data from student. I need to do the joins on them. In order to do the join, I need to know that ID field is related to the student, or that ID field is related to the class. So I will go back here again and make sure that you have the same column name, index. I'm saying this is the ID field of student. I will say student ref. I'm going to add again, this is going to be source, and now I know this is a student. Save. Meantime, okay, let me go back here. Where is our problem definition? Okay, I will come back here again. So let's quickly create a lens, so that we will keep referring this lens. We will keep knowing the problem. And the problem is, it is only showing me 3 records. Actually, there are 5 records. So let me save it. I will say students. I will say class with student. Basically, that's the appropriate name. Class with student. And actually, this is the problem we are trying to solve. Share. Okay. Now let's back our data manager. So what we just did is, we fetched 2 fields from class, we fetched 2 fields from student. On the basis of that, we only got an ID field from both of them, and that ID field will tell us that this ID belongs to class, or this ID belongs to student. Now, so assume we have a 2 table, and we want to copy paste 1 table below that. So just an example in CSV file, right? 5 rows of student, 5. So in order to do that, we have to append those. So this is the append component here, you can see. So I will say the append, and I will say append reference, and the source is, I'm saying class reference and the student reference. So what it will basically do, it will combine these 2 tables, and the output field. Okay, let me see. This is the append. So this has to index and source are to output field from here. In output field, index and okay, it's a source, and it is source content, and this is ref. Index and source, as you can see, both are appearing here. Now we want, so let's create a data set on the basis of this only. So in order to create a data set, we need a register. So I will say this is the register, and I will say name of the data set. So we are going to say class with or without student. And I'm saying source node is append reference. That's what we just created. I will say append reference. Okay. Otherwise, I will say class with or without student. All I'm trying to do here is to show how the components can fit in the. So this is basically the transformation tool, and how we can use all this to solve our problem. And the output field right now, as we can see, only index and source. These are the two output field we have. So let's do it. Let's save, let's update basically it. And we say run data flow. So data flow is running. Go back on the data manager, go on the monitor, and you will see it is trying to run the data flow which we just created. If there is any error, we will see error. So everything is good, seems. Now what we will do is, let's reload this. Okay. So this lens we already have class with students. So this is anyways our problem. Now let's go back here and let's create a new lens. So we have a data set. So now you see this data set just created now on the basis of the data flow. This one on the basis of this. So let's see how exactly it looks like. Easier to. So I'm going to have a table here, value table. And you see only two fields are here, and as you can see IDs are appearing here, all the class IDs are here, and all the student IDs are here. So I have three students, I have a three class. Now I need all this information. So let's see how slowly we can do that. Okay, because this lens is not the right lens. It is only giving me the inner join. I need outer joints as well. So how we are going to do that? So the first thing we are going to do is, let me see here. Okay, we are here. I will just scroll here. Now we are going to join a student, and what we are going to do is, so now we have the ID fields. So on the basis of ID, let's get all the other fields of student and let's get all other fields of classes. So what we will do here now is, where is so this is augment, okay, and augment basically is a join. So I'm going to say let's join a student. Let me have everything here so that it will be visible. So join student, and the left source is a pendulum, right? I'm saying, and the left key basically on the basis of index, I'm going to join, and the relationship name you can have as, let's say, student join. Now the right source we are saying is we are going to join it with student, and the right key is student's ID field. And then we have to say what are the fields you want to bring. So let's say I want to bring ID and name, only two fields, because class anyways we already have it. And let's create it. So this is how it looks like. Now this register is actually deriving the values from this. So what I will do is I will go back on this register and I will change the source from this to join student. That's what we just created. So now you see the arrow readjusted. Initially it was pointing to this, now it is pointing here. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to update the data flow. Let's go back here, see what are the ID. So see what are the other fields are available here. Let's save it and run data flow. And we can go on data monitor. It is, so right now it is fetching the data from Salesforce. Seems it's fixed, it's completely already done. What we will do is we will again go back on this lens. Now if this time you go on the value table here, you will see all other fields as well. So now initially there were only two fields, index field and the source field. Now along with the index and the source, we have the name field as well. So we have a name field from this. So we at least have a student name field. The problem is we still don't have the name field of the classes. So as you can see, we have these three names. Now these are three classes, but where is the names of those classes? So we will fix that problem. So what we will do now is, now we will join the class. If I am going fast, please let me know. So we have the fields from join. Now we need a fields from class. So we will now join a class. So on the basis of this, I will go back again and I will say join class now. Now the left source, as per this diagram, we say that we just created a student. So we have to go forward from that. From the student, which field is the class ID field? So if you see that field, it's basically the index field. Okay. And the relationship name, we can say that class join. And the right source, I'm saying it is class. And the what field from the class you need? Now ID field we already have, we will only get the name field. Sorry, right, it's asking right key. So right key is basically the ID field. And the which field you want, I mean only name field, that's all created. So now you see the joint adjusted here. Now this register data set should not be derived from the student, it should derive from class. So what I will do is I will go back here. I will just change the source from join student to join class. Save. So now you see it is adjusted now. We are here. Let's try to save. Let me make it a little bit smaller so that everything would be on the same screen. So now you see little bit it is getting complicated, but we are going on a step. So we don't need to worry about how it is going. So I'm updating flow, data flow. Let's run flow. Go back on the data manager. We are on monitor page. Refresh it. So it says something went wrong. It say class with or without student, invalid schema. Okay, let's see what exactly the problem here is. So let's go back here. Okay, so left join was student. Student had the index field. And then we did the relationship with class. And in the class, we are searching the ID and we are searching the fields. So let's try to have ID field as well. I didn't change anything yet. Let's see. Class with a student schema invalid key name. Oh, class don't want name. I think there is misspacing. Okay. I know what is the problem. So if in the join student, let's have the node names as a without any space. There are a lot of issues. I will say a lot of issue I have faced with analytics is like it's a case sensitive. So sometimes that also fails. I will have a relationship name. I will say class join. Okay. So there was a space in class. I just remove that. I go on output field and password class. So this is registered. Okay. Whatever it is. So what I will do is I will just remove it. I will create a new SAQL register. And I will say class with split numbers. Source node is the latest one, which is a the source. Delete this. Source name is actually okay. Wait, I think the problem. The join class, right? It has to actually join the student. So augment actually on the basis of join class. Left key actually we have to give Okay, so I know what exactly happened. So the association between the this and this lost because I renamed the name. So I will go back here. Left source I'm saying join student. Left key I'm saying, yeah, maybe I have to delete this again. Give me a minute. So I will delete this. And after the join student, I will create one more argument here. Sorry. And this argument is going to say join class. This is the issue I was getting. And I will say join student is the left. Okay, why the left key is not appearing here? ID field should appear here. So let's go back here. Source ID, index ID is there. Okay. Okay, let me refresh the page. Maybe something. Okay. So I just refreshed the page. So this is a student. This is the class. Student reference, class reference. Everything is good. Distill point. Join student is good. We join class and this. And join class, or I will. So let's do one thing. The join name, relationship name, I don't have a space here. So I will do the same. I will say class, no space here. Save it. And I will go back here. So now no spaces are there. There was a space and I was getting an error. Hopefully this will work. Let's see. I go on the run flow and I go on data manager now. Monitor. So everything is success. So actually the only problem was, and it was not giving me the right. So basically this is like I was talking about. More appropriate could have been if I add a space in the class join, right? I should have get an error from the whole framework, but I didn't get any error. It let me pass through, but it was giving me an error on the final screen. So that's the thing we have to consider. Even this case, it's very case sensitive. But anyways, we are able to solve it. Let's go back on our lens. Let's create a new lens. Class with or without student. Let's change it to the value table so that we will see all the content. Now we can see we have a class name, Java.NET Salesforce. We now have a student name. We have all the IDs and everything. Don't worry about the extra columns and everything. We will fix everything. Now the next step for us is what we will do here. So let's figure it out. So we did the join class. Now what we will do is let's self join the class. And the reason for that, if I go back here, I go on value table. So these are the tables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the self join and let's see what exactly is the impact. So let's have here, I'm going to have an argument again, and I will name it self join class. And the left source I'm saying join class we just created. Left key is the index field we just created. Yeah. The relationship name I will say self join. Now the right source we are saying here is we are going to join the same join class to join class. We are going to say the ID field. Okay. So now what we are going to do the self join, but we are going to join now. Now if you go back here, now the students, so these are the students, 3 students, they have a value in, let me see, 038. So if you see, okay, I did a mistake, I guess. The student class, right? They need to have an ID field, class ID field, which we are not bringing yet. So we need to have a self join on, sorry. So this is the class. So if you see the class have 3 IDs, if you do the self joining on the class, we will be able to see the class name here. So let's see what we are going to do. So on the right key, we are going to use this to so first we did the student reference, we did appending, we joined the student here, and when we join the student, we get the fields, ID field. We need actually class as well here. Propagate. So we have a class, then we did joining here. This is exactly the same. Now we are doing self join here basically. So join class is already here. So let's see the output field. So now we have the output field of the class basically here. We will do the argument, and what basically we are going to do here is self join we are going to do with the class. Left is join class. Left key is again the index field. Relationship name we are going to say self. Now right source is again the same, join class, but the difference here is the right key is, so we have a 2 class ID field. One is here and 1 class ID field is here. So what we are saying is join class on class, so that at least we have the class name, because here right now we do have a class name here, but we don't have class name at that place. So let's join that. And on the right field, all I'm saying is email. So what we did is we joined class with class. Okay. So let's create it. Now what we are going to do here is on the self join. We are going to, so now the problem here you see is the Salesforce is repeated. So Salesforce is already coming here, but the Salesforce is here as well, repeated. So I think after this step, it will make a little bit more clear that what we are doing. So what we will do is we will do the compute expression again on the self join class, and we will say find the duplicate, and I'm saying self join class, and we are going to add a field here, and the name of the field I will say a status, and let's have a SAQL. So I'm going to say case when. So let's go back here. So we have a self.id field. Okay, so let's try to find out that what is duplicate and what is not duplicate. So before that, let me show you the output, then it will make a little bit more sense. Perfect. So everything is success. Let's close the lens. Let's create a new lens here. Change it to editable. And let's add all the fields. Now, if you see here carefully, this Salesforce is the duplicate. Nothing else is a duplicate, right? Because Salesforce is appearing here as well, and other places it is not appearing. So out of this class, if you see, we really don't want this field because this is the duplicate. We want everything else. Otherwise, what will happen is Salesforce will appear multiple times. And if you see this output, the only way to identify out of these all rows, which row is a duplicate row, if I talk about in terms of classes. So I will say this row is really a duplicate row. And how we can do is we can say if this row has a value, that means this row is a duplicate. Otherwise, because we did the self join. So self join means we would be able to easily identify that rows are getting duplicated or not. So let's go back and first identify. Let's have something like a figure or something. So what I will do is I will go back here. Let's go back here, and we will do again compute expression. So compute expression is here. I will say let's flag a duplicate. I'm saying it's a self join class, and let's add a field. Field name is, let's say, status, and I'm saying case when just 5 more minutes and we would be done. ID basically wait. So let's say the name of the field self.index, and we have to make sure that it's all S capital and I capital. So it's a self.index. So that's the thing I'm saying. If self.index is not null, then let's have it 0, else let's have 1 and end it. And again this register. Now we have to update this every time because the problem will happen if we keep as it is, it will not have this. So we have created this field status field. We want this status field in our data source. So I will go back here and I will change it to the duplicate. Save it now. It's here. Let's update it. Let's run again. Hopefully I didn't make any mistake. Even the naming convention. So everything is good. Let's go back and we will understand now what is the progress. If I go back again on my lens, if I create a value table and I say give me all the column. Now as you can see the status 1 1 1 0 1 1 1. All the ones we need to keep and all the zeros we need to remove because all the zeros are basically the duplicate row. Salesforce is already the part of these 3 rows, so we don't really need a Salesforce again. So now let's see how we are going to do. We are going to filter a duplicate, and very easy to do it. Okay, before going to that, okay, let's go on the Dataflow documentation. Let me show you something here. So on the Dataflow documentation, there is a filter transformations and filter expression, and you see this is the syntax of how do we use the filter. So what we are going to do is we are going to come back here. So again, to see guys, this is how slowly it is becoming. It's a simple problem to there are multiple ways to fix it, a lot of simpler way also, but I want to show you how the different components can be used in this transformation tool. So now what I want to do is I want to remove the duplicate. So let's have the filter. So let's search where is the filter. This is the filter, and I'm saying filter duplicate. We don't want any record which has a 0. And how we can do that is I'm saying source is duplicate and the filter is we created a status field. So I'm saying in this. So let's go back here and let's see the field name is a status here. I will say status equal to 1. And how do I know this syntax? On the basis of this documentation, it says that this is how we can use in filter. So you have to use the dimension. Our dimension is status. Status is equals to 1. That's what all we need. So I go back here, create it. Now and I will say, let's have a filter duplicate here. Now, the final data set, because SFDC register is the final component which generates the data set. So we need to keep updating it. So let's update it, update the data flow, run data flow, and go back on monitor, keep refreshing. If any error I will know. So it's success. Let's go back here. So now you see we had 6 rows, right? Now let's see what happens. And go back on the new lens and go here. Let's convert it to value table. And let's have all the fields. And see, now we only have a 1, 0 is gone. So this is how we are going step by step. And this is how all the components we can use all together. Now what we have to use is, all the students, these have a class ID, right? 0 to 6. And all these class ID, so we have a Java, we have a .NET, but we really don't have any Salesforce name. So we want to fix it. We want to have a class name instead of this 0 to 6. And how can we do that? So what I will do is, I will go back on my data manager here. Filter duplicate is here, and I will create one more argument, and I will say class name in student, because that's the problem I need to solve. Left source is filled. So left source should always be the latest source, so that arrows would be automatically created. And in the left key, I need student dot class. And the relationship I can have something like student class. Right source is of course the class. And the right field, I'm joining students class with the class ID. And I'm saying I feel I need a right name, because name is the actual field which I'm looking for. And create it. Now we have to update. So right now our data set is pointing to the previous step. We want data set to point to this step. So I will go back on my data set. And I will say filter duplicate should be class name in student. Save it just like this. Do something like this. Update it. And again, this is the button download. Always keep downloading the JSON, because you cannot back up your data flow. It is always good practice. So this, and anyways you think you lost, so basically, well, let's download it. If any problem comes, I can restore this data flow by just this JSON. So this is JSON I just downloaded. I'm running the data flow. Go back on the data manager here and keep refreshing the monitor. So it is extracting the data from Salesforce. 5 more minutes and we should be on. Okay, so let me go back here. Let me create a new lens again on the basis of this. Let me go to the value table so that I can see all the information. Perfect. Now the problem here, so we have a Java and the .NET name. We have the Salesforce. The problem is this Salesforce name should appear here. Why the Salesforce name is appearing there, right? So what we can do is, let's create a few new. So basically what we will do is, we will create a new field for the class to have the class name. So right now the class name is appearing here. Some class names are here, some class names are here. That's really not working. Okay, some class ID is here, some class ID is here. Again, that is not working. So what we will do is, we will create two fields. So what, just 2 more steps left. So what we will do now is, let's come back on our data flow Saturday here. I will create, go on compute expression. So compute expression can help you to create a new field. We already did that. And we say, let's create a new fields. And source would be class name in student. And let's create a first field as a, let's say, class name. So I'm going to create a field. Field name is class name. And let's write an SAQL statement. So I'm saying case when, and it is very simple. Everything is in front of us. We want name if student class dot name is not null. So let's use that one. So we want case when student class dot name. We have to make sure we are not mixing the cases. So stud S capital. Okay. So if student class dot name is not null, then we will use this field as it is. If this field is null, then we already know if this field is null, then the field is coming from class join dot name. So I will say class join dot name, and I will end it. So this is a SQL syntax. You can just go and see how exact. It's just like normal SQL syntax or any switch case statement. So I'm saying if value is here use this. If value is not here, then use this value. Same way we have to use for the class ID. Class join dot id. So I will save this. I will add again new field. I will say class underscore id, and let's paste it. The only difference I need is instead of class dot name, I need student join dot class. So student join, let's see, student join dot class underscore c. Let's see, student J is capital join dot C capital. And let's say if that's not the case, then we need class join dot id. Then class join dot id. Hopefully everything will work. Let's see. I'm saying create it. Let's go back here. Okay, new field is here. Basically, I need to say that I need to bring these two fields here. So let's bring two more fields. So now you see I need to first change the source. I will say new field here. If I update it, I see a lot of new columns now. Update Dataflow, run Dataflow, go back on data manager, we are on monitor, refresh it, and the last step just left. So if I go back now, let's create a new lens again. Let's go back on value table. Let's select all field. Now we have everything what we need. We have a new field column class name. It has all the class values. We have the new column named class ID. It has a class, but the problem is we have a lot of extra fields now. We don't need really this column. We don't need self index. We really don't need a lot of columns. So let's see how we can do that. So there is a one component which is a slice data set. So we will only keep the column which we really need. Okay, so, and that's all. Then we are the last process and we are done. So if you see here, this is the component slice. So the scenario is like this. When your data set has a lot of unused column and you really don't, we needed this column only for the computation, but finally we really don't need class join dot name and all those other columns. So we will go on slice. I will say clean these fields, and in the source I will say new field we just created here. I want to only keep those fields. So the question is which field you want to keep. So I want to keep class ID, I want to keep class name, and then I only want to keep student. I don't want student class name basically. I want student ID, I need student name. I need only those fields. All other fields are just extra. Let's create it. And let's go back here. This is registered is here. This is clean fields here. Now, and that's all saved. Perfect. Now let's create a new lens. Make it editable. I have selected all the fields. Now see the problem. This was the problem. We had only 3 columns. We didn't have .NET and Java. Now this is how we have Java and the .NET and the Salesforce. Now don't get demotivated that to achieve this small step we have to go a lot of these steps. This is just a step, and frankly there are simplest way to do this as well, but this is just to show. So if we see this data flow, we have used a lot of components here. So if I minimize it, okay, what we did, we we extracted data from Salesforce, we did a lot of join, we created a temporary column, then we created a derived column, we sliced it, we sliced the data set. So that's how these are some of the data flow I will say which you can use. These are some transformations you can use. And again, even this tutorial which I have shown you, this tutorial is actually explained by create this YouTube channel, Let's Play Salesforce. So you want to learn more, just go on this channel and you will learn a lot. So that's all for today's session. I took a lot of time, but let's say if we have any question here. Okay.
So Jitendra, I can see there are a couple of questions in the chat window.
Yeah, I see. Perfect. The question I will say, I will go to the bottom top. So the question from Prakash Rao. Question is, what is the difference between the left source and the right source? Okay. So the left source and the right source is just the left join and left join and the right join in terms of SQL language. Okay. So left join means get all the data from left plus the other data, and right join is get all the data from the right source and another data. Okay. And then Jigger, oh, I saw the Jigger's message. So Jigger already gave me the hint on my error. Thank you, Jigger. Jigger already told me that this was because of the space in the relationship name. Thank you. And can we share the created dashboard to chatter? Okay, we can actually share image screenshot. So if I go on dashboard, let's open this. Okay, so you see the follow button, you can follow here, and let's see notification, you can share. So if you share, so you can post it to the feed of the user, you can post it to the group, you can get the URL, and you can even download it as an image. Okay, and so the question is, can we export this in other format than JPG and NPG? Right now it is only showing PNG Kshitij. How can we create a levels in data model to drill down and drill up? So basically we are pulling these lenses and putting the dashboard. Yeah, that's right, Suhakar. So lenses is everything. All you can do in the lenses, and there are a lot of different type of lenses. So it depends on which lens suits the requirement. Okay, so Shinish, thank you so much for joining. Okay, the question is, other than the left join, outer join, right outer join, what other transformations do we have, such as append, filter? Okay, so all the available transformations are actually available here. So as you can see, of course, you can append to data set. We did that. You do the joining, you can compute expressions, and you can filter it, you can slice it. There are a lot of others as well. Okay, you can convert any dimension to measure, and flatten is really one of my favorite. Okay, and this is really very, very useful. So let's take an example, the role hierarchy of the user. Now the role hierarchy in the user is like or the user hierarchy, let's say the user hierarchy, user's parent user, that's parent user, and the parent user. So if you have those kind of information where you have a self join, you can use the concept of flatten to bring everything in the denormalized way. I have used the flatten only one, but that's really a good one. And these are all the transformations, those are available. Yeah. Yes, and you can see, you can export and everything. Let's see what else we have. Perfect. So question from Jigar. Can we create a custom formula in the bucket field? Of course we can do, and that can be done with the help of recipe. Unfortunately, today we didn't cover the recipe, but this is, as you can see, my desktop recipe is here. You create here, data set recipes. Yes, and you can derive the field, you can create a bucket field, and all those stuff you can do. Recipe is a really good one. Unfortunately, we cannot cover that. Will the lens get updated if the records are updated in the sandbox or the static? So Saheb, that like we discussed, the data source of analytics is different than the database of the Salesforce, and it has to be synced. So if the record get updated in the Salesforce, not necessarily it will update in the analytics. Either you have to manually run it or you have to schedule the refresh of data set. Question from what is better, creating a data set from workflow or recipe? I will say it all depends on the requirement. Both processes are good. You can either create a data using a data flow, or you can use the advantage of the recipe is like it will give you a lot of flexibility in terms of if you need some bucket field, if you need some formula field. I think I covered that. Yes, from the Lakshman, we can create a data set for custom object. I will go back at the bottom. Jigar, can we add a dynamic filters to an existing data set with the help of Apex? Jigar, I didn't try that. Okay. But I see there is a lot of APIs available from the analytics wave for the Lightning component. So I just attended the webinar, I guess 2 weeks back. Recording must be there somewhere. If you want, I can share that recording. Whenever any dashboard, I mean, there is a lot of flexibility. If you come on Apex or the Lightning, if the data gets changed, Lightning application even gets fired, and those kind of stuffs are happening. I really didn't have any hands-on on that, but Jigar, to answer your question, a lot of things are possible with the combination of Einstein Analytics, Apex, and the Lightning component. Question from Shrinish: how can we migrate data flows to their environment? The one way, Shrinish, I know is you can export the data flow in JSON, and then you have to upload it back. Okay, I think that's all. So you can send me a question on. Okay, very good question from Suvajit Majumdar. How about record level sharing and field level security? Awesome question. If you want, we can have the session on that. It's a really interesting. Answer is yes, it is possible. You can have a security. I have one org which I can show you, but we have a time crunch right now. But we can do that. Certainly, the record level security is possible. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, giving your time on the weekend. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow my YouTube channel. Amit is going to share this PPT. Amit is going to share the tutorial and the recording as well. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Jitendra, for such a great session. So this is really informative. And thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us, and Chemli, and all the other developer group who all join us today.
Thanks everyone. Have a nice day. Nice evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Jitendra.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.